It's time to bring on the blooms at the Home Depot with spring garden deals. Find savings on hanging baskets and flowers to brighten your backyard or any space that needs instant color. Then get everything you need to plant and protect them with low prices guaranteed on soil and mulch. Dig into spring garden deals for 4 days at the Home Depot. Now through May 10th. Exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Unlock over $3,500 in business and travel value annually with statement credits on select purchases from brands like Dell, Hilton, and Adobe, and other benefits. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Based on total potential value of statement credits on select purchases and other benefits, enrollments required, monthly and other limits and terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
My name is Casey.
My name is Dan. And I'm Aaron. We are The Itch, rock radio and podcast, and you are listening to The Hook, the ultimate rock community podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to The Hook Rocks. I am your host, Jay Scott. Thanks for tuning in once again. Thanks for listening. Really do appreciate it. We are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, great network of music-related podcasts. Check out all the music podcasts that are on that platform, such as some of my friends that are on there, like Vinny Appice and Carmen Apice, and the Hangin' and Bangin' podcast. You've got Shout Out Loudcast, the great Kiss podcast with Tom and Zeus, Cobras and Fire with Baco, rock historian Martin Popoff, Mistress Carrie out on the East Coast, and so much more for you to listen. There's pretty much something for everyone. So if you want to dive into that at pantheonpodcast.com, there's so many options for you if you're a music lover. Also check out the Real Me podcast, which we just did a show with the host Aaron Alden. And we discuss the healing power of music through Teen Cancer America, the charity that is founded by Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend. So check out those stories. Check out that interview with Aaron. Also check out some other previous new episodes that we have just dropped. We just did a new music spotlight with The Odd Even. We interviewed Phil Lewis from LA Guns and a host of other shows, too, for you to check out and listen to. You can follow us on Twitter at The Hook Rocks. Follow us wherever you do podcasts. We're on every podcast platform. And also catch us on Facebook, too, as well. Search up The Hook Rocks. We've got another great new music spotlight for you. We'd like to welcome in a band from the UK that probably about 2 weeks ago, I was sent the video for their song called Fire. And, man, just knocked me on my ass. It is fantastic. I shared it with like a whole bunch of people, the Groove Council, who we do talk about a lot of new music that are a bunch of followers of the Hook Rocks that get together and we share new music. Everybody was blown away by it. I'd like to welcome in George and George from
Hello.
Crooked Shapes. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, we're good. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. Should we save confusion with two Georges? We got we call bass guitarist George Ivesy generally. So it's a terrible nickname, but it's stuck. Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm glad to have you guys on. I've been looking forward to having you on the show. Glad the timing worked out and everything. So just excited to have another great new band from the UK on the New Music Spotlight.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we always start the same way every time we have first-time guests on the show, and that is really what we're all about. Just like every great rock song has a hook that sucks you in, every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a song, an album, a band, or performance, that hooked them on rock and roll. What was it for you?
Well, that's not. Do you want to go first, Isaac? That's a tough question. I've been lucky in that I really got into music through my dad. He used to play a lot of kind of, great kind of classic rock stuff to me as a kid, as well as just sort of anything kind of oddball or interesting as a kid. I remember listening to stuff like Led Zeppelin and The Who a lot as a kid. We used to listen to, I remember pulling into school with my dad blasting out like Achilles' Last Stand by Led Zeppelin when I was like 7 years old, and that just being like an incredible sort of like moment, from like an early stage of my my interest in music. I think that's probably what got me in at a young age. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if your question, if you were more digging for like a more recent kind of story. I don't know. My whole getting into rock is just. My family home has always been surrounded by music. I mean, my grandma was a music teacher. My dad was in a band when he was younger as well. It's a bit of a different style. It's a bit more new wave he was in, but I remember him playing his electric guitar when I was a kid, and I was like, "Dad, it's just the sound of rock," and I thought it was awesome. And I just thought, "Oh, it'd be awesome to be able to do that one day." I didn't think I'd actually be able to, mind you, but then I one day picked it up, and that was it. But we've always had rock in the house because he's into bands like Free and Bad Company and stuff like that. So I feel like I've been brought up with a decent taste, and then my sisters kind of got me into like metal and stuff like that. So then I started going to my first concerts, and I became very much a dedicated rocker, really. So,
was there a moment when you wanted to take that passion for music and get up on stage and play it live? Was there a concert? Was there a performance that you saw?
Actually, my first performance, there wasn't really a performance that made me want to do that. I mean, when I first picked up a guitar, because I was actually watching a video on YouTube. It wasn't of a gig or anything. It was just someone else playing, just some random person. I have no idea who it was. And I thought, that's really cool. I want to be able to do that. And I thought, sod it, I'm gonna give it a go. My parents are out, so I didn't feel too nervous about grabbing the guitar and attempting to play a power chord. But I managed to learn a riff there and then. And I was like, okay, this is all right. Maybe if I plod along with this a bit each day, I'll get into some sort of roll with it. And I did. And at my school, one of my teachers used to organise like a charity concert, and I used to get along with him quite well for a teacher because he was into rock music. So we had a bit of a bond over that, which is quite nice. And he heard me playing guitar. And he was like, "Yeah, you're going to be playing in it." And I was bricking it first of all, basically, but I had no choice. But I managed to get a drummer to jam along. We jammed Enter Sandman by Metallica, and that was just like the turning point. From then on, I was hooked. I had to play live, and I tried to do it every opportunity. I basically caught the bug, so to speak. So yeah. Yeah, I mean,
sort of similar thing to me. I got big into it through school, basically, finding kind of like-minded friends. I remember skipping a few classes so that I could practice guitar with my friends. In like one of the music rooms, kind of tucked away.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been lucky enough that I've had the opportunity to be able to kind of perform, you know, as like a teenager through schools and stuff like that. So it's hard to kind of say a performance from like a band that I saw that necessarily influenced, because I kind of, that was already like a part of my life before I was like regularly going to gigs anyway. I mean, even younger than that, like I was doing performances in like a choir when I was really young. So it's like, it's something that I've always been interested in. Even like, I think maybe it only sort of coincided that like performing live and sort of being massively into rock music was like, I don't know, like came together maybe in my sort of teenage sort of days. But yeah, no, it's like I've always like performing, even doing like, I don't know, like drama club at school and stuff. It's like, it's always been an interest of mine.
I've had this conversation with many artists about the impact live music, especially a rock concert. I've never experienced a pop rock concert or any other genre. I mean, I've seen other genres, you know, jazz and blues and other artists, but I've never experienced kind of the pull that a rock concert has on an individual. Because once you hear it and once you feel that synergy with the crowd and you experience the whole package, right? It never lets you go. It gets in your blood and you want more of it. And I see it with my 16-year-old son, who, when he was 5, I took him to see Butch Walker, who's a singer-songwriter, great artist. And ever since then, you know, he's found a path to rock and roll. He's gone to, you know, Iron Maiden concerts and Metallica concerts and all this stuff. He can't get enough of it. It's like it is like a natural drug. It's so empowering.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cathartic, I think. It's kind of like, you know, if you're all enjoying the same experience, you know, I think what makes sort of rock music interesting, I think for us as well, is like, it's the potential for things where partly it's like the potential for things to go wrong is almost like an exciting part of it, you know. It's almost like things not being as sort of, you know, things are structured. You've got an expectation that when you go see a band and they play a song that you love, it's going to be pretty much kind of as you know it.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think, yeah, it's like you're sharing an experience with a whole crowd. You know, it could be thousands of people at one time, and you're all sort of enjoying the same thing. And it's almost like you kind of, your minds kind of sync up a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like weird. That and I think it is, you know, there's something innately kind of stark about rock music where with guitars and stuff, it's almost like you're getting the most amount of volume, about like pushing the most amount of air out of like kind of like small movements, you know. I think with like, you know, maybe I'm like digging into things a bit too much, but it's like, you know, it's like, you know, there's just something very satisfying about loud guitars.
Oh yeah,
turning small movements into like a big thing.
Yeah, that sums it up really for me as well, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned something really interesting. Everyone's experiencing the same thing, but everybody has a different experience, right? There might be some similar things, but everybody's getting something different out of it. Everybody's feeling something, you know, different. And like I said, sometimes they might be close, but everybody walks out of a rock show happy and incredibly, you know, hyped up and just enjoying the whole experience. It's something so special. And when you can experience, you know, when you're younger and it just grips you and it wants you to be, you know, if you're a musician, you want to be on stage because of it. Now, how many guitar players have you heard over the years talk about that moment when Ace Frehley's guitar flew into the rafters in 1977. And, that was such an impactful moment for them, seeing that they wanted to pick up a guitar. It just has that way about it. Live rock music is so powerful.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's even with the whole Marshall, traditionally the Marshall stack or whatever amps used on stage. The big amps, it adds what you see in front of you, adds to the whole experience and the volume as well. Because you see and you think, oh, this is going to be mental, and it tears your face off, and it is awesome. I know there's a lot of bands who don't actually use the amps which are on stage anymore, and it's they're shells, but just the image of it being on there, it looks the part, and it's part of the fun as well. Like, it's an experience.
Yeah, I think of those visions when I was growing up of Van Halen with those stacks of amps. From one end of the stage to the other, and it breaks where the drum set is. But it's just such an image that, is so powerful. It really defines what live music is. It's all about power. It's all about that power chord that just rips right through you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
As far as writing music goes, was there a song that had a melody or had lyrics in it that grabbed you and wanted you to write music, yourselves? I mean, I don't know if you guys are the principal lyricists of the band, but you do write music with melody on your instruments. Was there an influence there?
To be honest, in terms of songwriting, it's generally kind of like, in terms of like the music side of things, it's probably I've mostly come up with the sort of riffs and the sort of most of the structure, and then I sort of bring it to the table and we all kind of like delve into it together. But there's also Ivesy and Craig, not here today. They write a lot of lyrics as well, and they get involved in that. But we all like work on melodies and make it something together. But in terms of like writing, and I don't know, it's hard to say was there a song which made me want to write something. It's actually just something which I really wanted to do as soon as I picked up the guitar. Because I've always liked kind of doing things my own way, if that makes any sense. And I was trying to figure stuff out and make stuff before I'd even really listened to loads of things. So I just thought, well, this is what I kind of like the sound of. And, then as I started listening to more bands, I started hearing things which I've liked and started incorporating those things into my playing and stuff like that, and my writing as well. And and the thing is, there's this. I suppose now I discover new bands, and I really like them, and it makes me think, oh, I wanna get a bit of that flavour in there somewhere with a new song, and that's kind of what happens. But also I'll always have the parts always have the influence from everything else I know. Influences go straight right from Black Sabbath, all the classic rock bands, to the heavier end of the spectrum like Slipknot and stuff like that. But then also going to like different types of music. Like I play classical guitar, I'm properly into classical music, and I like a bit of jazz, I like a bit of funk, I like a bit of whatever Thundercat is almost like a R&B jazz fusion-y thing, but like it's insane. And even some soul, like you can take a bit from anything and put it in what you write, and it'll, as long as it sounds good, it sounds good. I mean, why does it have to be like, oh, you can only do this because this is what rock music is? Solid, man. I like how this sounds in that type of music. Why can't I just like make it to fit what we do in Crooked Shapes, for example? It's just similar in a sense, but with a bit more overdrive on it.
Was there?
I'm not.
Well,
Sorry.
No. When you're writing music, when you're writing lyrics, is there a certain motivation for you? Do you write about personal experience? Do you write about observation? Do you write about what others are going through that you know? Where do you find, your inspiration to write?
I think with lyrics, I mean, yeah, with the most recent album, definitely, it's very much a kind of a more personal experience kind of thing, and because it's all there's quite a big, especially over here in the UK, there's a massive thing on. There's a massive thing about mental health at the moment, and to be honest, we didn't write these songs because of there being such a kind of a big thing about mental health. It's just like writing music, and it just kind of came out that that's what it's kind of coming out about. It's not just about the experiences we were going through. So yeah, that's kind of what it's like a therapy, self-therapy in a sense. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Music. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like lots of different sort of musicians or songwriters has kind of influenced songwriting. Certainly one from like a young age that I was big into was Tom Waits, the singer-songwriter. I think my dad got me big into him as a kid, and I was like, what on earth? Without the sort of context of it, it's like, what on earth are these songs about? I just found them kind of fascinating, and I think it's like being able to paint a world or inspire people's imaginations. I think it's interesting, but also being able to draw from like a very personal place, I think is important. I think it's hard to say. I don't know. I think I haven't always found like songwriting particularly easy, but I think it's just like whatever it kind of interests me at the time. I'm like, oh, this is something interesting. I'll try and I want to do something about this. Whether it just happens to be a song, it's an opportunity to kind of like
a romantic love song about a cat.
Yeah.
Hey, cats need love too, right? When you are writing, is it therapeutic for you? Does it help you get a different perspective when you're writing about something personal?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a lot of this recent album was sort of written before COVID and everything. But I think in a kind of weird sense, some of that sort of feeling is reflected. I mean, there's a lot of the themes relate to just sort of struggles that we've had in our kind of personal lives and dealing with mental health. And it's been very helpful to kind of like almost use it as a sense to kind of look at yourself from like an outside perspective. It's almost like by writing it down and having it as like a commodity, you can kind of like view it from the outside. I don't know if that makes that much sense, but it's like if by turning it into music, it becomes a shared experience in a sense, and therefore it's not something that's entirely inside.
Interesting. As far as having that perspective, right? When you do write about something that is personal, there is a sense of vulnerability. There is a sense of tapping into something that may be uncomfortable. But once you write it, it goes to the people that listen to it. They absorb it how they listen to it, right? They determine what it means to them. Is that difficult for you guys to see when someone is maybe having their own meaning behind the song when it maybe was intended for something different?
Not really, actually, because that's something I've always done myself. I mean, I know what the song means, but I kind of make my own kind of meaning up for it, which, of course, it might, it's still based around relatively same topic, but I kind of like the music to me, not just the lyrics, the music itself actually makes like a story in my mind, if that makes sense. And I feel from the music just as much as the lyrics. Sometimes I can't actually really understand the lyrics which are being sung because I don't know. I've never been good at picking out words from lyrics just like that. So if there be a bit which I don't know, I'll just make up my own words in my head until I actually learn what it is. But then I just have my own kind of thing going on with it, really. I mean, I suppose the only one, if I would never have known that Every Breath You Take by the Police is actually by a stalking incident, you'd probably be, it's a sweet love song. But no, it's actually really quite dark and depressing. So which I actually find pretty funny, to be honest, because people have it as their first dance sometimes.
Yeah.
So let's have a first dance about Stalker. It's brilliant. But
Yeah, that is an interesting take, and how people play that song at weddings and stuff.
oh yeah. There's such a dark side to it. I mean, like when there's that key change, especially at the end, like it's like, it sends a bit of a chill down the spine, that bit. I'm like, that's a sinister kind of bit. That's a good word. It goes from sounding quite sweet and, you know, quite caring, and then to suddenly just being like, this has got a bit of a sinister edge to it. And I got to admit, even before I knew the meaning behind the song, I thought, it's quite a nice song. But then that little bit, it did kind of like think, that's quite a dark sounding bit. What's that? What's to do with that? And then when I found out the actual meaning behind it, I was like, that makes sense. You know, it is quite dark. That's why.
You guys are a 3-piece band. You guys sound like there's 6 members in the band, which is absolutely incredible. When you are putting this band together and you decide to do a 3-piece, was there other bands that have 3 members that were influences for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, like we're big fans of bands like Rush and bands like, I guess there are sort of other bands that we've been aware of, like King's X, or even, you know, I was quite into Muse. Like, I would say, like, very influenced on me. I'm trying to think.
It's even bands like, not necessarily 3-piece bands, but 3-piece, like, not that vocals aren't an instrument, but because it's an instrument in your voice, but in yourself. But like, you know, guitars, bass, and drum. Like, you know, that's, you know, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. They're heavily vocalists, but the guitar, the bass, and the drum, it's a 3-piece setup there. And what I've always loved about that sound, I mean, like when we were first doing bands, I was like obsessed with like Iron Maiden, Tin Lizzy. I wanted the dual lead guitar thing, and then we had an instant where we were in a band. We were a 5-piece like years ago in an old incarnation with a different name, and then the guitarist left, and we were like, we need to get another guitarist. But then we did it. We actually did a gig as, you know, well, we were a 4-piece back then because we had a singer in that band, another singer, but we actually did the gig and we're like, you know what, we actually like the sound of it with just the one guitar, because, you know, you don't have, you know, quite the full sound on its own in a sense, but it opens up space for the bass guitar to kind of become a more melodic instrument in itself. I mean,
yeah, it kind of forces you to be a bit more thoughtful about how you sort of arrange the music in itself. That, and it was like, it feels like a harsh thing to say, but it's like, do we need to, for certain songs, just hire someone to play just like power chords behind something? It's like,
yeah.
But, you know, it kind of pushed us, I think, to be a bit more creative in certain ways.
Yeah. Also, I quite like the pressure of being the only guitarist and having to basically not cock up, otherwise everyone would hear it's you that made the mistake. So you get, you know, you're sheltered a lot less. You're a lot more kind of vulnerable when you're playing. But I mean, we've gotten around ways to kind of dig up the sound, even though it's just one guitar. I run a dual amp setup live either side of the stage, so it sounds huge, even though it's just one guitarist, me. And then Ivesy's bass tone is just huge anyway. So yeah, it's you know, but we kind of stuck with the whole 3-piece thing, and you know, what's also useful with being a 3-piece is that it's less people to have to get stressed and annoyed with. So
yeah, there are some logistical
issues which have plagued us in the past, but yeah.
That's a interesting way of putting it. I was speaking about to George Lynch about that, because his band went from a 4-piece to a 3-piece, and he said the same thing. It's a lot less forgiving when you're a 3-piece, because you've got a lot of space and you've got to make up that space. And when there's another guitar player in there, you can kind of get away with a few things that you can't when you're a 3-piece band.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember there's a particular song by Black Sabbath which has a section in it which it's the bit which made me think, oh, this is just amazing. And what was it about it? It was the fact that it was the clarity of what it was. It was Fairies Wear Boots by Black Sabbath, and it's that middle guitar solo section when Tony Iommi goes off ripping his solo and Geezer's in the background going doom da doom da doom da doom da doom da doom, going in this, literally ripping it on the bass. But like he's not just plodding along on one note. It's a melodic piece in the background, and it's the way it all kind of blends together, and it's just like you don't get that in, for example, nothing against AC/DC, they're a brilliant band, but because it's all about the power chord and that, and you have the rhythm guitars in the background, you won't have that clarity, that space for the bass guitarist to go off and do that sort of thing, because it'll kind of get muddied out by the rhythm guitar, and you won't really notice it as much anyway. Whereas, having that space when the guitar goes into the solo, and it's a clarity which is, for me, really, really, really satisfying.
When you are writing music, the last two songs, Appetite and Fire, Fire came out 2 months ago. Appetite was just released a couple weeks ago. How is the collaborative process within the band for Crooked Shapes?
I mean, so Appetite is music that George wrote a while ago, and we were we were a little bit kind of on the fence with it initially for the album, because we were like, this is kind of quite an upbeat track, and is this going to work with a bunch of sort of songs that are a bit kind of heavier and a bit more mostly kind of gravitated? And I was like, it's always this song almost kind of sounds like a bit of a party song. So like my approach to it was, I kind of wanted to write the anti-party song. Yeah, it was about just like kind of quite overtly putting on a face or putting on like a facade just to kind of like get on more, trying to socialize or trying to like trying to like put on a
face to get through the evening.
Yeah, or trying to like it was kind of like I wanted that kind of conflict between what the lyrics were saying and what the music kind of divides the music. A bit like what we were chatting before with Every Breath You Take. That kind of interests me, is like that sort of depth where what the music is telling and what the lyrics are saying are kind of like at ends with each other.
Yeah. But what is it? The video for it is Ivesy's idea, the video, and we originally wanted to do it like in live shot, but we thought that might be quite difficult, especially with COVID going on. But we managed to get the details of the person who did the animation, and it was awesome. And it's all that slightly comic book like animation, which I really, really like. But it's almost like it's supposed to be. It's kind of like a slightly dark humor. It's funny cardboard cut out figures which are representing these people who you can't relate to. But it's kind of sad because this guy is just making a complete arse of himself in front of everybody, and he's clearly drinking himself under the table and just not, being self-destructive because he feels probably like a nervous wreck. And it's a situation which I feel like we've been in, personally. And so it's kind of like dark humor slightly, the video, in a sense, I'd say. That's my spin on it anyway.
When you're writing, or how the band has evolved over, because you guys had an EP before this. You guys formed in 2018. Obviously, everyone dealt with the pandemic across the country, across the world. Experiencing that, now putting out new music, how has things changed within the band in terms of maybe the tone of the music or the style? Has that evolved at all, or what direction are you guys headed with the new material that's come out since the EP?
Yeah, I mean, the EP was partly material that it was partly material from a previous project that we wanted to kind of continue forward. I mean, part of the reason that it's called Fallout is kind of like the fallout of a kind of previous band in a sense. But yeah, I think at that time we were very interested in being kind of like a classic rock and kind of blues kind of stuff. And although that's still kind of part of our sound, I think we were, as kind of the time's gone on, almost to sort of fit the kinds of subjects that we wanted to deal with. Our music's kind of become a bit darker, and I think we've kind of been more interested in, I don't know, like grunge kind of sounds, or like bands like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains have been like a big influence. And I think our sort of sound has maybe evolved to be a bit kind of darker and harsher and a bit kind of fuzzier and a bit kind of like, just to kind of like match what we want to write music about.
I mean, I try not to think too hard. We try not to, well, I try when I'm writing, like if I have a riff in my head or I'm writing a piece of music, I try to not think too hard about it, and it just comes out as it is, and it's just what it's coming out heavier. And to be honest, I started experimenting around with. I've never been a fan of down tuning guitars or using 7-string guitars and stuff like that, because I love my Les Paul. It's my, it's an extension of me. And to be honest, whilst I like other guitars, I'll always go back to that. That's where I'm at home, if that makes any sense. So I started experimenting around with getting sort of heavier sounds from what I have, and you can play certain chord shapes, you can play in positions, you can play to get effectively what sounds like down-tuned effects, but on a 6-string guitar and standard tuning. And I played a few demos of brand new stuff, which is actually even newer than the stuff on the EP. We're talking about the future of the band, and people would be like, "Oh, have you like down-tuned?" I was like, "Nope, standard tuning." And they've been a bit like, "Oh, kind of like a bit surprised, like holy moly, like it sounds huge," So yeah, it's sticking around. Things. I'd say this is probably the album's probably got the sound of Crooked Shapes. It's probably going to dive probably a bit more into, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I don't know if you have to describe where it's going to now in terms of, but it
makes like a bigger contrast in a sense. Like, I think we're some of it's going kind of heavier, but some of it's not necessarily heavier. I think we're including sort of more harmonies and more kind of other instruments and stuff. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly, but yeah.
Is it important to keep challenging yourselves?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
definitely. I think, to kind of keep music interesting. Well, music's always interesting, but like to kind of get the most out of the satisfaction of music for us is like, we want to kind of drive or see where we can kind of take, rock music as it is, in a sense. Like,
As far as the album goes, when you're putting this together, you talk about the direction, you talk about the challenging yourselves within the band, coming out of a pandemic and looking at rock music, prior to that, right? Where bands are struggling for relevancy, bands are struggling for an audience. Where now, 2021, there seems to be the beginning of a resurgence where people are gravitating to live rock music and listening to newer bands. Are you seeing that same stuff?
It's difficult to see exactly at the moment. I mean,
it might be a bit different there than it is over here, to be honest.
Even continuing into 2021, I think restrictions within the UK have it's been sort of up and down, really. But I think people are really sort of keen to see gigs when they can, but
there's not really many gigs. A lot of venue promoters and stuff like that, they're kind of a bit on the edge about putting gigs on because they're kind of unsure how many people are going to come. And the trouble is, they've been absolutely stripped of all their funding and they basically have no money. So they're kind of on this edge of like, if we put a gig on, like, and we have to obviously, they have to hire out, they have to pay for they have to pay the sound guy, they have to pay bar staff, all of that. If a band who goes and puts a gig on doesn't sell tickets because people are too scared to come out, then they're just going to be losing even more money, and they could potentially close. There's venues over here closing left, right, and centre.
They put a bunch of money into a big band coming out, and then restrictions change, and insurance may or may not cover that kind of big expense. It's very difficult for venues at the moment.
It has to be exciting on one side and also kind of the unknown, on the other. I mean, I've interviewed quite a few different bands from the UK, from all over Europe as well. And I think there is a different tone now that we're coming out of the pandemic. Fingers crossed, at least there's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe that's a better way to put it. But as far as touring and as far as bands, I know, with Brexit, there was, some issues with the expense now to go play Europe, where it's almost as equal now to play in the U.S. if you can get, the bands together to go play the U.S. Have you determined what your plan is as a band with Crooked Shapes on where to play and what audiences to go after?
I mean, I think at the moment we're pretty sort of focused on the UK. We would love to go play in Europe and in the US again. I mean, we were lucky enough to, in a previous band, play in Oklahoma.
The Rocklahoma
Festival back in 2016. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which was an amazing experience. We loved it. We'd love to do something like that again, but it's difficult to determine exactly if we're going to be able to do something like that again anytime soon. I mean, we'd love to.
We'd love. It's just like I said, the logistics of doing those overseas shows are always difficult. But I mean, the whole Brexit thing, it's frustrating in that sense. But it's done, get on with it kind of thing. We'll figure out a way around it because you have to. And there was a UK before the EU, so it's I know a lot of people get very kind of about it, but it's just get on with it and see where it takes us. We'll figure it out.
Well, I believe firmly that whatever is good will find an audience, right? Good music will always find an audience. And you guys are making great music. Some of the feedback that I've had from people that I've played the music for is like, is that 3 people? How is that 3 people? And just absolutely, mouths drop when they hear the song Fire and the song Appetite. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I know, there's a contingent of people here in America that would love to see these bands from the UK come over and tour. I know it's a challenge. I know it's difficult. I know it's expensive, but hopefully one day that can happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sure it will. I'm not. I think we will. It will happen. It's just a matter of time, really. And we're just. Meanwhile, whilst we're over here, still, we're just keep perfecting our craft and as good as possible when we're around there. So, we want to give the best show possible, really. So,
well, what about touring the UK? What's the plans for you guys once the album hits?
I think, to be honest,
I think in the new year we're going to be trying to book shows.
We've already got some stuff lined up, which is quite nice. But it's just getting more, really. I mean, I'm just we're kind of going around getting hold of people and stuff. So, but now's the time to be doing it. So that's what we're kind of pushing now for next year. I mean, we had a gig on Saturday just gone, and that was a good laugh. We would have wanted to do more this year, but realistically, that was never going to really happen. But we did do some. It's just been difficult because of COVID. But that was the last gig of the year this year. So we're just completely focused on getting gigs for next year, really.
Well, that's awesome. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on and doing this interview. It's been a blast. I'm a big fan of the music, and big success and good luck to you guys with the new album.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Everybody, that's Crooked Shapes. I'm Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks. You can find their self-titled debut album out this Friday. Go on crookedshapes.com, and you can listen to it there. You can order it there. Is it going to be a physical copy, or is it just streaming, guys?
Yeah, there's a physical copy. It's going to be on all the online platforms. It'll be on iTunes, Amazon, all that stuff, and Apple Music, all the streaming, Spotify. It'll be everywhere, and there are hard copies as well. And we are thinking about trying at some point get some vinyls done for it as well, maybe. So keep your eyes and ears out for that.
Yeah, don't tell me that, because vinyl is going to cause me to go bankrupt with all these different colors and different editions. And Discogs, which is I don't know if you're familiar with Discogs. It's like this site that you can find anything on. That site's going to be the death of me.
Yeah, it's an addiction, I think, to Discogs.
Yeah, I get these emails. Oh, a vinyl that you've put on your want list is now available. I'm like, stop sending me these emails, So anyway, guys, thanks for doing this. Everybody, that's Crooked Shapes. New album out Friday, and go check it out. It's great. Check out the songs Appetite and Fire. You will be hugely impressed. Big fan of the band. Check them out. I'm Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks. Take care, everybody. Take care of each other. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We'll talk soon.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's OmniShade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
300 Favorite Albums with James Campion.
I don't think there's an album I know better front to back. I learned how to play guitar to a lot of these songs.
If I could pick one record to hand someone and say this is what it feels like to be a woman, it would be this record.
You know, the engineer that was recording the album for us was a novice engineer. He was really the janitor.
The first half of these sessions for the album were totally improvisatory in the sense that they went into the studio and just dealt with whatever happened.
There was space that was left for these listeners to kind of discover it for themselves. That they would say, yeah, my parents listened to it, but I had to build my own relationship to it.
Happiness, good living, peace, love, rock and roll. I just feel like this album is such a wonderful translation of that concept.
People understood they were in a world historical moment, and it felt like it was going to last forever. In fact, the infinite spaces that they explored in The Giant Now is part of what made that explosion so huge.